got shots per game at 6.2. So they're best in both categories there. I don't know. I just think the Texas Stars are gonna take it. Just seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, there we go. So given that, then, so it seems like most people here believe the Texas Stars are going to win, but we'll put that to the side for the moment. Who do you guys think is going to take home the cup?
I'd say it's whoever wins St. John's versus Texas. I
Hmm.
think those two teams have put up a more, I'd say, like a higher level in terms of play. Like the series itself was a lot better than Quad City versus Lake Erie, which I attribute more to Lake Erie lacking in communication clearly, as you saw a lot of their players running into each other, and Quad City just taking advantage of that. So in terms of the playoffs so far, I'm not entirely sure how Quad City will match up against the other two teams on the other side of the bracket. Uh, so I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Texas or St. John's. I think they're gonna come out of their series a lot stronger, with more momentum, and we'll win from that side.
ML, you want to give your opinion?
Well, the BZ predicted us. The BZ predicted us to lose the last series, so I think we got a good shot now.
Oh, the memes.
I did.
South Plug?
I apologize.
South Plug, you there?
In my defense, I actually thought, and this is naive of me, I thought Monty would be able to take a series seriously. I thought that this team looked like it would actually give a shot at trying to make a legitimate play, but it just seemed like they were all out there for themselves and trying.
Oh,
That's
sorry
something
about
I
that.
talked about, and I was naive to think that they would be able to kind of turn it around so quickly. So I do apologize for
I mean,
that.
I will say I was surprised to see. I thought it was gonna be a much closer series, and I mean, both two games did go to overtime though, so I think it was a lot closer than it looked.
Agreed.
I mean, I think that I played pretty badly the first two games. There was a lot of saves I could have made and just didn't do. Like there was a lot of grounders that I let in. There's just really soft goals, and I'm going to place a lot of the blame on myself for the first two games because I think I could have pulled our team out of at least a win in the first day of playoffs.
Unfortunately, you have bad games, but the point of being a good team is that you're able to overcome when somebody has a bad day. And unfortunately, it seemed like too many of you guys had a bad day at once, and because of the way these playoff series work, where you play multiple games in one day, if you three people have a bad day when you're playing two games, you're now down 2-0 in the series, and now you have no room for error. So not the best situation to be put in, and I'm sure everyone on the team probably feels the same way, that there was more that they could have done to bring it back and at least give you guys a chance at moving on to the finals. And it's unfortunate, but that's part of the game. That's part of competition. Winning wouldn't be as amazing as it is if losing didn't suck so bad. So anyway, Para, Self Plug, anyone else predictions on who will win the JSL finals?
I'm gonna have to say Quad City. I think with John Cena stepping up so well, just being huge point producer, I think they can take it. They're gonna come in last seed and just steal the cup away from Texas in the final, and it's gonna be beautiful.
I don't know that I can speak to any JSL matters because I haven't been following it as closely as I should. But
Oh, I haven't watched a single game.
But I can say I'll be looking forward to casting it.
Awesome. All right. So is that it? Anything else you guys want to talk about for the JSL before we move on to the RSL? Sounds like a resounding no. I take that silence as a no. So
I was just trying to think of something. Sorry.
that's right. I mean, if you
Nothing.
think of something else, we can always come back to it. So
How do you guys think the JSL is done in actually developing players, as far as like
That's a good question.
talent wise? Because we've seen JSL 2 seasons now, and I've heard complaints from some players saying the JSL isn't making me better. It's that everyone's at that low quality and it's bringing us down. I don't know.
I think that it depends. It really depends on who the player is, because a majority of the people who are in this JSL and have not broken an RSL roster are the kind of people who don't put the time in play public games. Like they're relying too much on the games themselves, which are supposed to be like a test of their skill.
Their
Like you're
development
supposed to play
tool.
public. Their development tool. Like you're supposed to play public games as cancerous as we all like to call them. They are a great way of getting better at the game. And
With the
so I
BZ,
like
why does it matter? It's just a pub.
They're a necessary
like-
evil. They really are.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I
You
don't. I
gotta overcome
personally.
it.
You can always practice alone. That's what I do.
That's another thing.
Same
is that
here,
we
man.
don't see like a majority of those players practicing a lot. One of the players I did see practicing a lot was Scout, who's someone I thought deserved to be on a JSL roster from the beginning, and thought the draft was a bit botched. We can talk about that later. But he was a free agent for a while, and so I picked out of spite for that reason. I picked him up on my RSL roster, and in time, I think it was Lake Erie that picked him up, and so.
Yeah.
He found a place there, and he's been playing in pubs nearly a couple days a week. I've seen him on, and he's definitely getting better. He has a good scoring touch. He has good position. I think he plays hockey in real life as well. He's a big Rangers fan. He watches hockey a lot, and so he's got a good sense of the game, and it's something that you can definitely attribute to when you can see his improvement. He's played for Lake Erie, and he played in those series, got a couple goals, and I'm happy to have him on my roster right now. I think he's developed really well, and I think he's using it the right way. He's playing in the pubs, he's asking for help, he's getting some tips, and then he shows it off in JSL.
Who was the name there?
Base cow.
The Space
I
Guy.
didn't hear.
Yeah,
the name.
lagged
Yeah.
out for a moment. So.
And
Oh, sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
think that was a really good kind of accurate depiction of what it's like, and I kind of like that analogy of the competitive games are supposed to be a test where you show what you have, it's not supposed to actually be. That's not where you actually develop the skills. It's not like you learn how to take a wrister in the JSL. You learn how to take a wrister practicing with your JSL team. You practicing by yourself, practicing in pubs if it has to be that way. And I like that analogy in the sense that the competitive games are where you show off what you have. It's a test, and then you have to actually study. You have to actually prepare, and that's the analogy being studying for a test. I don't like it because it makes it seem like it's almost like a job or like a I don't know, work as opposed to a game that you're playing. But if you want to play it, at a high level, then that's kind of something that has to happen. If you want to enjoy playing the game, if you want to play with really good, skilled, talented people, then that's kind of what you have to do in order to stay at that level. So
Yeah, Matt didn't get where he was by just being like, I'm gonna play one league and then not play anytime else.
I mean, Matt's a
Yeah.
freak of nature, though. So
Yeah, but
Hey,
he's still,
true,
like,
true.
yeah.
It might not be the best example, but it holds value to it. I mean, that's how we got to where we are. That's how I got to where I am. That's how Dalf
Even
got to
more
where
realistic
Dalfan is.
example would be Fat Squirrel, who is famous
Yes.
for recently before this season. He was so adamant on calling out the best players and telling them shoot on him. He'd play on the shittiest teams in pubs and have all the top scorers, even though they were stacked teams, just keep shooting on him, and he hit the wall, and he just kept hitting his head against the wall until it made him better and turned into steel. And now Dial spent I think half an hour talking about how great Fat Squirrel was. Like it didn't take long.
I
think it
could
was a
spend an
couple months.
entire podcast talking about how excellent he's been this season.
I mean, you basically did. But
Yeah.
it goes to show that the practice doesn't come from the games themselves. You have to find the time. If this is something you want to be a part of in terms of competitive hockey ?
high level.
Then you have to find the time for it. If you don't have the time, that's not a problem. There's always next season. There's always going to be hockey ? I guess for the next while. So it's you got to take care of what you got to take care of. But when you have the time, go by yourself, hit the wall.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
other thing
and-
I think. Sorry to cut you off there, Delph. That's the other thing I think that goes kind of like unnoticed almost is that, or maybe not unnoticed but unappreciated, is you don't have to play at the top level. You don't have to. If you want to play the game more casually than that, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just understand that with that comes the fact that you're not going to progress through the leagues as fast. You're not entitled to the same positions and the same opportunities that other people who are really grinding through, putting in hours of practice and are going to be awarded. So it's just you have to take what you got there, and if you're not going to put in the time, that's fine. Just understand that you're not going to get the same level of reward back.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was gonna say. Is that the best players in this game are coincidentally also the players who spend the most time playing the game. There's a few outliers, but for the most part, that rings true every time. And if you don't have the time, like what we had previously talked about, then there's the JSL.
Or
The-
HQMI.
And again, to stress, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being, we say like just a JSL player, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just playing that game and not having that same competitive drive. So we're
Well, in
happy
the
to
end, the
support
game
all
is
types
about-
of players.
In the end, the game is about just having fun.
Yeah, that's why we're all here.
except
and that's
ripping
gonna
some Genos.
that's
I'm
gonna
just here to
mean
dangle.
that's going to mean different things to different people. Some people like Dalf and I are much more competitive in nature, and that's where we get our fun. And some people just show up and like to have a good time and just enjoy the game and enjoy spending time with some friends, bumming around, dipping Genos. And it is what it is, and
Yeah,
that's
how,
awesome.
That's how I started playing.
Yeah, like
Ah,
Tom Midget.
The good
forever
old
casual.
days.
Yep, forever a
Good
filthy
old days
casual.
before I was
Meme.
before I was Hitler.
Yeah, yeah. I'd just like to say it, Hockey Question Mark would like to make sure that no one gets the idea that you should be actually hitting your head into a wall that can cause concussions.
That's probably a
Oh, I
good,
was being
good point to
serious.
stress there.
Well, DBZ, I mean, like, you see where you're at, and like maybe you wouldn't be a meme if you didn't hit your head in the wall all the time. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, I
Goodness.
think if I played in the JSL, I might be hitting my head against the wall as well.
Well,
Yeah, you do.
okay, well that right there is why people don't want to play in the JSL.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, oh, hey, go have fun in the JSL. We're just gonna shit on you every day,
It's
because
like
we're
how-
assholes.
have fun in the McDonald's playpen. Like,
oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I mean,
no.
if there was more of a encouraging effort from the community as a whole, and I'm not gonna call out anyone or say that anyone has to do it because we already have stuff to do in Hockey Question Mark as well as our own lives. It's hard to ask people to put more into it, but if there was more of a I guess welcoming. I need to find another word
Following?
for it.
Is-
Following, or even just like acknowledgement that it's a development league, instead of expecting people to like break out immediately, or to either break out that season or you're stuck there forever. Maybe
Yeah, it's
people
not
would be
not
more
an
inclined to
be
play
all,
every day.
and there have been plenty of players that have been stuck in roles all the time, and it happens at every different level too. I mean, you look at somebody like McJava, who was stuck at sort of that top of the RSL, bottom of the LHL area for like 4 or 5 seasons before he finally got into the LHL. And it's really the same thing when you look at JSL to RSL. Like, different people are going to improve at varying rates, and some people are going to move through quickly, and other people are going to take longer to reach that level. And again, nothing wrong with that. That's fine. So take however long you need to. The important thing is that you start to get your feet under you and understand what's expected of you before you move on to that next level. And if that takes 2, 3, 4 seasons or 1, it doesn't matter. That's okay.
Yeah, I just think what Tabizi was talking about was in terms of getting the following, getting the recognition to encourage the JSL players to talk about what's actually happening. Like, how often does anyone really talk about a JSL regular season game? We're talking about it now, but it really is what we need if you care about growing the game is you need that buy back in from the players at the top to show and take an interest in the lowest level of play. If you want those players to develop, don't walk around like you're an elitist who plays at the top level and you don't care at all about the lowest level. And that's why we try and get people to come back in, get guys like me and Dial casting the JSL playoffs, casting the RSL, and you bring that back in so it can go full circle in terms of you have the best players helping develop, helping bring in the lower level players to make it feel more connected.
Stick tap, stick tap, stick tap.
Buddy was moved to your channel.
Oh, what's up, man? I'm doing good. How about you? Uh,
Why?
well, I mean, it's definitely a team effort. I could say that. Like, you know, saves by ML, goals by me, Renegade, and passes by DM, and Icy and Molting, Coke. Just everybody's producing, and it's like, and I was pretty shocked at first because when we were going into JSL playoffs, I was pretty surprised because I mean we're facing Lake Erie. This team is like pretty good team. They have Trip and goalie. They have really good defense and offense too. And I faced Juicy last season, and he's pretty good. Pretty and same. And yeah, I don't think I faced Monty. Maybe I did. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, vaguely I remember most of the people on their team that were there last season were really good.
And I asked ML this question, but I'm going to extend the same one to you here now. Of the two teams left, St. John's and Texas, who do you think is going to win, and who do you want to play in the finals?
It's gonna be a really hard choice about who's gonna win because they both have like really good offense, they both have really good defense, but really good goalies. Like the whole JSL setup is actually a really good even matched up. Um, I honestly want to say Texas will win because I'm sure Stamkos is not gonna take like a loss like that. He's definitely gonna come back, and he's been just he kind of destroyed, and ended the season. So I would say he will probably start coming back alive, and he'll probably try to bring his team alive too. But the people I want to play in the playoffs is St. John's, because St. John Sea Dogs. So because I really don't want to face Stamkos.
It's
That's fair.
understandable as the
I don't even
leading
wanna face
scorer
Stamkos.
in the JSL and somebody who led his team in points in the RSL too. I can definitely understand why you would not want to have to face him.
Well, I mean, his
I thought
RSL
Nova
team was
leaded in
Hershey.
points.
No, he broke
Really?
past Nova in the last game against
Oh
San
man,
Diego.
poor Nova. Best offensive
Well, Nova's a
defenseman in the
defenseman,
league.
so I mean that's asking him to be first in points is a bit much in general. I think that team needed a bit more attendance to. But good on Stamkos to come in there and turn that team around. They got their first win.
Yay.
Anyway, all right, I think we can close up the JSL conversation now and get going on the RSL stuff. So, thank you guys
Alright,
for
so DeBeezy can
participating.
leave. See ya.
No, we'll keep him here. Anybody who wants to stick around and talk about the RSL stuff with us, I'm more than happy to have you guys on board. So it's great to have other voices besides myself here. So
I'm an RSL.
are you?
RSL.
You're
Yeah,
an
he's
RSL?
on
No, oh,
Coventry.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you go, man.
Coventry is where backup champions are made.
Everyone here is on an RSL team. ML24 did take a leave of absence from.
Yeah, he
Coventry.
retired. No, he specifically said retired.
So I wanted to focus mostly on the two teams that are going to be, the four teams that are going to be playing in the quarterfinals, and we'll leave the conversation about Coventry and Ontario and Hershey and San Diego for a later date. But for now, I want to focus on those quarterfinals coming up. So the first of those is going to be Manitoba versus Greenville. Manitoba held first seed for a brief period of time as Coventry started slipping there towards the end of the season, and then fell all the way to third seed on the very last day. Bit disappointing of a finish for them.
Since
And
the first game when they got first place, they had 29 points total. I think Sully had a point where he's like, all right, there's no way we can fall from here. And so they lost
believe
their
they were
next three
only
games.
I believe they were only a point ahead of us. So I think
They
if they did
were
have
a
that
point-
thought,
they
then that
were
was a
2
little.
points ahead.
That was a
Well,
little.
I mean,
even 2 points. That's a little mentally like
well,
you
in
have to be
terms of-
more
I meant
strong
'cause
than that.
Ontario had 22 points that time, which was third place. So I think they were pretty comfortable in terms of a bye week with 3 games remaining. I think they thought they had it in the bag, and I did too. I was pretty sure they had it in the bag.
Nah, we just decided to give them their week. Let him
Well,
let him taste the peak of the mountain before he kicked the ladder from underneath him.
even regardless of their skid there to end the season, obviously I believe they were hoping to have that bye week, but I do believe playing in the quarterfinals may actually be good for them, given the fact that they lost their last 3 games of the season like that. But I do think on the whole they're still a relatively well-rounded team. They have statistically, I believe, the best goalie in Sully right now, who has a
Well, yeah.
71% save rate,
Well,
1.75
absolutely.
goals against average. He's been excellent for them. And then Doucette, Byrne, and Witecki each getting 15, 15, and 17 points respectively between them. So well-rounded scoring and excellent on the back end as well, with Sully backing them up there. So it's hard to find a flaw in that team.
Sully was hard to face in JSL last season too.
Yeah, Sully is he's very good, but recently he's been tilted a little bit, and I think that's going to be the main factor going into the playoffs. As I think he has carried them for most of the season with like a plus 70% save percentage, and even in the last few games he hasn't played well, which has dropped that off even a little bit more. And you see over the whole season he's only got, I think, what, compared to other teams, goals against, well, his goals against average is 1.75. And the
Oh
only
no, he
goalie,
doesn't give up goals. The Manitoba Moose goal differential has been pretty stellar this whole season. It's been about 10 or more. The whole thing to look at, and the devil in the details, is that the shot differential has been less than 0 for the most of the season.
I dropped 37.
Sounds a lot like Edmonton to me.
Yeah, definitely they rely on their goalie to make those crucial saves, and they do give up a good amount of shots, and the offense that they do produce is not not bad, but definitely isn't anything greater than normal. So with that being said, they have to put more on their goalie to make those saves.
Well, what I'm noticing is too, they don't have any one player that it looks like they rely on to score goals. And while I think that isn't necessarily a bad problem to have, it also generally means you don't have one person you can sort of fall back on, that not necessarily superstar, but the carry, who you can trust to go out there and score that game tying goal when you need it, or score that goal to break the tie when you need it. And I don't know if they really have that right now, outside of maybe Witecki.
The closest Witecki would be the closest to that in terms of like stats only tell half the story, as people will tell you. Look at his game-winning goals, which is something that hasn't been properly tracked this entire season. Witecki, from what I've watched, definitely has a good amount of game-winning goals. He definitely has those crucial goals where he puts the game out of reach. They're up by 1. He adds that second goal to make it 2-goal differential in the third period. He'll also get that overtime winner. He's definitely really timely with his goals, and when he gets the open space, he finds a way to put it in the back of the net for most part, and that's the reason why he leads the team in points. Byrne and Doucette also right behind him, with Doucette getting just one fewer goal than him. But I think that Witecki is definitely more timely with his goals, because the games are typically so close because they only give up about 1 goal a game, 1 or 2, that he finds a way to make it 3-2.
Would you consider Witecki then to be the X factor for this playoff series for Manitoba?
Over Sully? That's a really hard question.
I'd say no.
I don't know. I'd have to say that Sully is someone you expect to do well, but at the same time, if he doesn't do well, then the team really falls apart.
Well, that's sort of what I mean, right? It's like at this point you expect Sully to give everything he's got, but that may not be enough on its own, as we've seen, to really push him over the hump, especially in a multi-game series like this. So that's why I sort of refer to him as sort of like the X factor, the catalyst that really, is he that factor that's going to push them over the edge and enable them to secure wins against the lower seeded Greenville team.
I think Witecki might be it, because in his game series, in game 1 of his series, Sully might steal that first game, saving 80% of the shots, getting like 10 saves on 11 shots or something, and that might work for the first game, but eventually people get tired. I mean, fatigue could come into factor where you have to make save after save after save. It might get to you a little bit. We don't know Sully. We're not in his head. But if
I
it's
am.
all on him, it could get to him if he's making save after save. So Wateki would become an X factor if he's not able to put up some points for his goalie.
I would say most of Manitoba would have to come to a factor. I'd say Sully would have to probably talk to him about it and be like, "Hey, I can't put, you got to block some of these shots, or at least take it out of the zone because they just keep putting up shots like they're bound to go in."
So I
That's
think.
true. Although, go
Sorry,
ahead,
go ahead.
Selfbuck. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was gonna talk about Greenville. Let's get Manitoba out of the way.
I was gonna say having a strong goalie generally bodes well for you in the playoffs, but usually the teams that are stronger defensively are the ones that wind up coming out on top in multi-game series, as a lot of playoff games tend to be tighter. Usually, like you see, 3-2, 2-1, games like that, 3-1, where you don't see these massively high-scoring games. And what I worry about, where you're bringing up points about the amount of shots they're allowing, is whether or not their defense is going to be solid enough to keep enough pressure off of Sully and keep the game out of his hands entirely on his own. And I feel like that could be a major factor and a major point where the team just starts to collapse and fall apart. And I think if they do lose, especially in this round, this early on in the playoffs, we're going to look back at that and pinpoint that as one of the main reasons why they weren't able to get the job done.
And the players that they're playing against, on the other side of the ice is Greenville. And these are, this team has had some up and down success. It's hard to put, a word on them to define their season. It's been up and down. It's been left and right. But the bottom line is that they have Marchie and Guy Lafleur on their team, two well-known scorers around the RSL. So, I mean, if there's anyone to beat this team easily, and it's definitely Greenville is one of those teams that can put them away.
I don't think they'll get past Manitoba though. I don't think they produce enough from the back. They don't have enough pressure, as well as they don't have like a real standout goaltender. You look at they have Nina.
Ouch.
Nina. Oh, all right. I know, Trip.
I know.
It's being mean, but like you look at their save percentage. Trip, you're actually the better of the two. So
I know.
you look at Trip at 68.9%, so about 69%. Or
Well,
59.
58.
59.
Pardon, 58 is what I meant. And they have Nina at 51%, which is shocking. And you look at the other goalies in the league, and almost everyone is at least at 60%. Only teams with lower are San Diego and Hershey, I believe.
Teams that didn't really make it.
Two teams that did not make the playoffs, so they just snuck in. And I think, if they're relying on just their two forwards to create, they're going to need more from the back. And you see their shots against per game, I believe, is the highest in the league after Hershey. Hershey doesn't really count, though, because they had a train
Portland
wreck
had
of a
higher
season.
by 6, but very close.
Really? Ooh,
Just by
Yeah.
6.
just
Portland just surged ahead. A lot of their games have been close, but at the beginning of the season they were giving up a lot.
And they're up by 0.2 on them, I think, or no, by 0.4. But yeah, I think that's going to be Greenville's downfall. Is they let in a lot of shots and they just don't have that standout goaltender to take them and push them away.
I'd like to talk about some positive points because I play for Greenville.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like standout players for Greenville, the guys who stepped up over the season have been Icy and Nina have really actually played very well. Nina stepping in D, and Icy, who's absolutely astounded me because he's when he got brought up on the team,
Buddy
he
was
was
moved to your
JSL player
channel.
who's a sub, and but no, he's played incredibly well. He has an offensive touch, and he has a great long shot.
He's their third highest scorer with 8 points.
Yeah, thank you. But
Sure.
yes.
I have a question to ask you actually about Greenville.
Mhm.
Okay, so what kind of thoughts would you think that Greenville would need to beat Manitoba? Since you're on a team.
Good thoughts.
Kind of mentality.
I don't think that.
I can answer that probably.
Yeah, ask their GM. He's right here. Guy LaFleur,
Good.
welcome to
Hi.
the show.
What's up, guy?
Yeah, so I'd
This is like
say my
ESPN now.
team, our biggest downfall is just not being confident, and that's not only like in ourselves but in our teammates. Like you'll hear me in the team speak calling for a pass or someone calling for a pass, and we're just holding the puck for way too long, and that's why we give up so many shots every game.
So kind of make a lot of passes, you say?
Yeah, to some extent. I don't know if it's necessarily a lot of passes. Just
We
make
need to make
the
passes at the right
passes we're
time.
calling for. Yeah.
Yeah, make the passes work. Okay.
One of the things that Matt always tries to do in pub games is he asks people to trust him. And he always asks them, he's going to make the right move. I think what Guy wants from his team is that he wants them to trust each other, to do the right thing.
And Guy's got a point there, as Greenville actually only has the third lowest assists behind Hershey, of course, and then Portland.
Seems like they don't really pass to each other too much.
Yeah, Gee, what's up with that, dude?
I mean,
Why
as for
don't
me
you
hitting
pass
the
a bit
post,
more,
actually,
Gee? What's up with that, man?
Well, he
just a
does have the
puck
most
hog.
assists, so.
I mean, I
A
think
few
that
games with Gabe will do things to you.
Sorry, we were talking about no assists. We can look at Para. Literally finished with 0.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Para-
unfortunate
Para
for
was
me.
trash talking me. I was like, "Hey, Para, why aren't you scoring goals?" And he's like, "Oh, cause I'm a creator. I gotta make sure my team's shirt at the back." He's got 0 assists.
When did I say that?
It was like during the start of the season.
We'll bring it
Oh.
back to Greenville here. But while we have you, Gee, how do you feel about your chances going up against Manitoba? You split the regular season series with them, 1-1. They won 2-1 in their game, and you won 4-1 in the game that you guys took home. So obviously favored in or towards you guys a little bit there. But do you feel like you can edge them out in a multi-game series?
Absolutely. I think I don't know. If we play our best, we're more than capable of like sweeping them. But that team, in my opinion, goes as far as Sully takes them. While they have a good roster, but I haven't really seen them play well together, I guess. I think they should be playing Dr. Slugger more, and the fact that they're not is probably hurting them.
One
He
interesting
doesn't show up every
storyline,
game.
which I think is really not overplayed, and that's probably a good thing, but I think it's fairly interesting, is seeing EU versus Sully. Again, we saw it in the finals in the JSL last season, and now here in the quarterfinals this year, and I'm sure Sully's looking to get some revenge on you for
Yeah.
the way you stole it away from him last season. So
I was there.
Yeah, I've pretty much been up against Sully every stage of this game, so we'll see how it goes this time.
all right, well, anything else to add for Greenville or Manitoba? Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Just about the series, I think it's going to be really good. You look at them position-wise, they're not that close, but you look at I guess they are now that Manitoba slipped. But but you look at their stats, they're incredibly close. Like despite how one team performed versus the other, they've got very similar goals and assists. They got similar goals against, similar shots and shots against per game. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I think it'll be a really good series.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think another thing to talk about would be the support from the bench, which Manitoba, you brought up Dr. Slugger, who hasn't been, in terms of stats, he hasn't shown as much, but I don't think he's been showing up to as many games as he can, just because of scheduling and stuff. So if he's available, I think he's in. But if he's not available, it'd be interesting to see who steps up for Manitoba. They have Renegade and Monty on that lineup. Both in the playoffs, Monty got, I think something around 7 goals in the 3 games he played for Lake Erie, and Renegade has 4 points, even more because they haven't put the stats in. So one of those two is going to get a chance to show up for their team if Dr. Slugger doesn't show up.
And I think
And
that's
on the other side, Greenville. Oh, sorry.
no. Go ahead.
I'd say Greenville, has their newer players. Icy, we talked about already. He's been doing really well in his first season as a starter, so it's going to be important for him to keep that up.
Yeah, Icy's been fantastic this season. It was a pretty big surprise because I kind of just threw him in at defense one game. I don't really remember why. Someone wasn't there or something. And pretty
You're
much
gonna
he's
make
been
Dalf
starting.
very happy.
Pretty much he's been starting ever since then, and he's our 3rd leading scorer, I think. So
Yeah, number 3 with 8.
I remember talking to him before that game.
Awesome to see him doing well. My last question for you, Guy, while I'm thinking about it, does the fact that you guys are coming into the playoffs, losing 4 of your last 6 games, does that concern you at all, or are you not really worried about it? You're looking forward, looking ahead, ready to move on?
I don't think it matters at all. I think what matters is the mindset we have going into the games. I think we know we're capable of beating any team in the RSL. It's just a matter of trusting each other and having the right mindset going into the game.
So how many posts do you think you're gonna hit in this series?
I'll
I'm gonna
break some
speak for him
records.
here.
Style.
I think he's gonna hit
Monty.
0 posts.
I think Monty. That's what I think.
No, Monty hits an impossible amount of posts, and I played with him early, and he just hit the post every fucking time. And
Oh, can we get some PJ salts in the chat?
I got to witness firsthand Guy ripping it off the post like it felt like 6 or 7 times on Wednesday.
I'll admit, Cook got in my head there a bit after I hit that first one. So I don't know.
Posts are
That's all a
nasty.
mental thing too.
All
I
right,
hate
so we'll transfer over here to the other series that's going down as we move on. Again, as we said, Coventry and Ontario will play in the next round. Coventry will play the lowest of the seeds moving forward. So if Greenville wins, you're guaranteed to play against Coventry. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready personally.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously going to be a tough series. I'd consider them, the best team in the league without a doubt.
Not if I'm here, the cheerleader. You're gone.
DeBeezy, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say that as the team that was the first one to beat them in the regular season, I think they're pretty confident and excited to play Coventry. But
Yeah,
by
I mean,
team I meant Greenville.
even that was, was a 1-goal game. So
Also,
I mean,
that
I think
was.
if
I'm just saying during that time there was significant ping issues.
Oh my god.
For my team, so
Oh my.
you noticed a drop in production there. Just saying.
I mean, from what I remember of that
So
game,
low off the
GT
steam.
played fantastic.
GT is great. I love GT. He's the most consistent goaltender in the league, and he always has been, always will be. He's amazing.
So we'll take a look at Chicago versus Portland now. So this is a series that Chicago won both games during the regular season. They come in as the highest seed 4, and Portland as 5. They won the games by a combined score of 5-2, allowing only 1 goal in each game, which is pretty good, especially for a team that's struggled a little bit there defensively at some points during the season. I gotta say, a bit disappointing for Chicago to not finish higher. I think they expected to be contending for that 2nd or 3rd seed, and unfortunately the other games did not go their way that day. So obviously a little bit disappointing for them. But on the other side, Portland coming in honestly kind of hot, 4-1 in their final 5 games of the season, where they looked like they were done and dusted for a while there. But instead, here they are and made it all the way up to 5th seed now, and squaring off against what I look at as a real offensive powerhouse, honestly, in Chicago.
But thing about Chicago is that they spent the entire season trying to fix the mindset. That mindset, that locker room had a bit, differentiating in terms of like how they play the game. You had BG, who's he's known to take it seriously. He tries his hardest. I always like to compare BG to Dial or X. Like consistency. He's going for that, shot every time. It's not going to be the flashiest, but it's going to go in. And so Austin on the back end, he's also got the same thing where he's just trying to win that game. He messes around a little bit, but when it comes to league games, he does go serious. Parabola as well. Over the season, they've had to mix a couple people in and out where the mindsets were just not matching up. And I think now they have their full roster: Pet the Pizza, Parabola, Austin, Skis in the back, where they're gonna get the results that they deserve this whole season.
They certainly look like they could be the most talented roster in the RSL at this point in time. But I know attendance has been a problem with Pizza randomly not showing up and Para not able to show up on Wednesdays. It is, right, Para?
That's correct. Although,
So-
look for me to, if the schedule is correct, I should be showing up for, at the very least, game 2. If not, I should be both games.
So expect Para to show up to a whole 1 game, folks. You're gonna get the whole 1 game Para experience.
You heard it here first.
Yep.
It's gonna be great.
So what concerns me about Chicago is that they tend to be streaky in their ability to score, where they seem like they either blow a team out or it's a really close game that they often do not come out on top of. I did some looking into it earlier, and Chicago was only 3-6 in games where they scored less than 3 goals, which is not excellent. So clearly, when teams are able to shut them down offensively, they have a really hard time finding ways to win without piling up the score. So that concerns me again, as I brought up earlier. Generally, the better defensive teams tend to be the ones that are capable of winning in these multi-game series, and I'm a bit worried that there's going to be, similar to Sully, a lot of pressure on Skis to really hold down the fort in the back end there. And I say that, but at the same time, Chicago has only allowed 1 goal to Portland in each of the 2 games that they played against them so far. So perhaps the matchup is still good for them.
The matchup is still good, but Portland has definitely had a complete transformation, I think, over even the past 4 weeks of the season. I don't know if the last, look at the schedule. When was the last time Portland played Chicago?
I don't remember the date, but I believe it was 2-1 for Chicago. Either 2-1 or 3-1, I can't remember.
2-1 Chicago on March 16th.
So about 3 weeks ago.
On a Wednesday.
That's a long time ago in terms of RSL, because since then Portland has been outstanding. Cook has had a bit of a break. He went on spring break, so he wasn't able to make a whole week, but he came back and he's doing well as he's returning to form from last season, being one of the top goalies in the league. Ace is playing well as defensively. Transinski has come out, and if you look at his points per game, it's actually pretty astounding. I think he's less than 10 games played, but he's still scored a total of 12 points or something more than that.
It's 14.
14 now. So I mean, he's coming alive in the second half of the season. In the absence of Quacky Face, so he definitely has a nose to the puck. He's been around the game for a long time. He's one of those European players who's been playing for a while. So I mean, he has a nose for the puck, and he definitely knows how to put it in. So Chicago is also the kind of team that, in terms of defense, sometimes they get caught too far up. Where they're trying to get those shots in. Austin likes to pinch up a lot, I know. So sometimes they get caught, flat-footed, and they have to go back and bring everyone back into their zone to play some defense. So one of those pucks could get bounced around.
I think best case scenario for Chicago would actually be to try to force a shootout, because Portland is 7th in the league in goals scored. The only team that was worse than them was Hershey, for obvious reasons. So, and as you point out, it's a very different team. It's a very different team. But I would argue that Chicago is a very different team than what their stats say as well. As they've probably made more roster moves this season than any other team has in any season ever. It felt like after every game, BG was like, all right, somebody's out. This is somebody else's fault, not mine. You're traded. Get the fuck out.
They ended up with such a ridiculous roster, though. Like, looking at this roster, this is the team I don't want to play.
Yeah.
I want to play every team, but this is like maybe even more than Coventry.
It's alright.
I mean, they have top goal scorer BG, so.
There's still, there's still, as DeBezy pointed out, there's still, I think, questions there defensively where sometimes they're getting caught out a bit too much, being a bit too aggressive on offense. And it allows them to be incredibly dominant offensively, but we've seen when teams are able to control their offense, they can turn it on its head. A perfect example is that Coventry game that Delph and I casted about a week ago, where they came out flying in the first period. And Delph, you can speak to this too if you're around. I mean, they looked absolutely dominant in the first period, and then only were able to score, I think, 1 or 2 goals. And then as the game went on, Coventry sort of adapted, learned how to control it, and then sent the momentum 180 degrees the other way, and ended up winning that game, I think, 3-2. And I'm worried that worried for them that in a multi-series game that this is going to start to happen, where the other team, in this case being Portland, is able to figure out what they're trying to do. Are they able to adapt and win through a different style of play than just blowing the other team out? Delphi there?
A bit inconsistent. Go ahead.
I'm struggling to remember the actual game though, so I don't know if I can comment on it.
All right, so it's the one where I think you said something along the lines of Capital Skis. He's got to save that after my long shot. I just remember that.
I remember that now.
That's the only moment I remember.
It would be a self-plug goal.
Was that the one where Skis whiffed on a puck?
It was like in the middle of the net, from like the.
Or well, I mean,
blue
like when he
line.
went out to play a puck and he lost
Oh
it.
no.
That's the thing that I was wanted to bring up and I forgot about it, and I'm happy Dalfan brought it up because Capital Skis, for some reason, I don't know what Beachy has him doing, but he comes out and plays the puck and he just does not have that touch. He never was really much of a skater. I know he plays defense a bit in the LHL, but definitely has a bit of a trouble sometimes, and it kind of stops his team's momentum when he plays the puck. So I mean, if BG's unable to clear that up in time for playoffs, that's going to be a problem, especially for a team like Portland where they have a really good aggressive forecheck that likes to get in there and get those pucks back.
I mean, I think it. I keep harping on it. The defense. I think it's going to come back to Ace specifically for Portland is going to be the major factor for them in that series in terms of being able to close that out. And controversially, on the other side, or conversely, sorry, is the word I'm looking for there. The entire team effort of defense for Chicago really needs to come together and be a bit more solid than they've shown in games past, where the score is tight and it's a 1-goal lead and they're not able to hold on to it. And we've seen that a lot from them. So, and Portland, like you said, is looking like a much different, much improved roster than what we saw for the majority of the season. And they're certainly a team that is going to come out and I think give Chicago more than they're expecting in that first game, especially.
I'd like to kind of offer a mild counterpoint.
Go ahead.
Due to a lot of those roster moves, trying to figure out what we're wanting to do as a team. A lot of it was due to early on. Obviously, the fact that the games were earlier on Wednesdays. I haven't been able to show up to a Wednesday game all season. And it just not for the game, but it just so happens that we moved our services back an hour, and I can now make the latest time slots at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you look early on, we lost our first 3, I believe, Wednesday games to Manitoba. Oh, that was actually Manitoba twice and Coventry once. So not easy games by any stretch. But we lost by 1 goal there, 1 goal there, and we got blown out the third Wednesday, 5-1. Whereas our Monday games for that same stretch we went 2-1 on those, beating San Diego, Hershey, and then San Diego beat us 3-1, and then we beat Portland 3-1. So early on, we were trying to figure out how we're going to do this. Our Monday roster looks a lot different than our Wednesday roster. As it's already been stated, I think we're now approaching the lineup that we've wanted to have all season, with Pet the Pizza helping to lead that offensive attack. I want to say that we have the most spread out scoring
The most
in the RSL. If you look at the points per game for each skater, I think that's correct.
Well,
It seems accurate to me.
or Manitoba.
It seems as though we've awakened a sleeping giant there in the Chicago players who are
Austin
not
specifically.
not very happy with what we've been saying on the cast so far. So
My name's Austin. I'm the best defender.
Well, the thing about it is that our lineup has kind of ebbed and flowed. Whenever we were pressing, we had a slump in the middle of the season. We pressed, and that was true. Our defense did come up a lot, myself included. We had Austin coming up. We were having a difficult time because we were stressing about, we're behind. We need to get the shots on goal, but we were leaving unguarded opportunities. We do have a pretty fantastic shot differential, even considering those bad slumps that we've had. Whereas Portland is pretty much the exact opposite. We have 110 shots for, they have 109 shots against. We have 72 shots against for us, and they have 75 shots for. So I feel like our strengths complement their weaknesses, if that makes sense.
no, that's a good point.
Trash
And
on Portland.
I don't want to sit here and pretend like I don't have any faith in Chicago or anything like that, because I believe they can win this series, and I believe we'll see Chicago in the finals personally. because I think they're a very talented team. But I am attempting to play devil's advocate here, trying to facilitate more discussion and look at ways in which we could see Portland come out with this victory. And that's sort of the point of the podcast, is facilitating discussions like that. And
That's
if
a
that
fair point.
if that makes you upset, I'm sorry, but that's what we're gonna do on this podcast. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to watch.
Dial, I'm
It's
so
not
triggered
even
right now.
about. It's not even about being devil's advocate. It's something that Portland has done this entire season. Everyone's expected them to roll over and give up in the season when they were points. I think they were at 5 points behind San Diego at one point, sitting in 7th place. A lot of people ruled them out, saying even a lot of people on their team were ruling themselves out. And they've found a way to win those games. They beat
Buddy
Manitoba.
disconnected from your
They've
channel.
beaten Greenville, I think, a couple times, and I think Coventry as well. I think. Look at the schedule exactly. I'm too busy ripping Genos right now to look at schedules. But like
You're like DeBeezy actually on
done-
a skating rink.
they've like really done their best to prove everyone wrong. So I wouldn't count them out even for devil's advocate's sake. Like they definitely have some good talent on the team, and they have a chance. Spider Geek's been playing well in the JSL and RSL as of late. They got some good pieces there. They can definitely give Chicago everything and find a way to win the series.
Okay, on that, should we do predictions for the series?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm saying Chicago is going to win 3-1. I think the one game they're going to lose is OT. I do think it'll be a fairly close series. I think it'll be a very high-scoring series. I think you're going to see games that are like 5-3, 6-4. You're going to see much more explosive series than what we are used to seeing in playoff games. And of course, I say this now, and every game is going to be like 1-0, 2-1.
I
I've had enough
think
of
that
1-0
you're going-
games.
I mean, the defense is actually going to be really important. We know BG is a top scorer. We know Transzewski's been a capable scorer, but Luke and Capital Skis are probably two of the better goaltenders in the. I'd say they're definitely top 3 at the very least, both of them, in the RSL, and so they'll be standing tall. And defensively, Ace has been known to be pretty consistent. He's been in the LHL. He's been playing there. Parabola and Austin have good defensive talents, even though they have a bit more offensive side to them. So the defense is going to stand strong. I think that these goals, the teams will only maybe get 3 at most in the game.
Who do you think's going to win the series?
I'd say Chicago comes out on top, but it's not going to be a sweep for sure.
Dalf?
That's
We'll go down the list here in order that they are. Dalf, you there?
Rip me.
It's gonna be Chicago. I expect them going all the way. I said that earlier and when I was casting, but they're gonna have some serious hiccups, and they're gonna have to fight their own demons, including Capital Skis playing the puck, in order to make it to the finals, like you think they will.
Gee?
I
know you're
no,
hoping that they don't win, but
No, to be completely honest, if we actually by some miracle make it to the finals, I'd like to play Chicago, 'cause even though they're the one team we haven't been
You
able
won't.
to beat. Alright, well, if we
Oh,
do,
rip.
I want to play them because I feel like that's like the ultimate test for our team, would be beating them, because we haven't been able to figure them out. But anyway, I think Portland has pretty big upset potential in this series. They're a bit of a wild card going into the playoffs. I'm going to say 3-2 Chicago still, just because it's too strong of a roster to lose, but I think it's going to be closer than people would think.
okay, John Cena.
All right, so this is a kind of hard decision because both of them are like really good and they were pretty even. I'd say. I mean, I'd say Chicago has a little bit upper hand with the offense, but I'm gonna say Portland. And the reason why is I think if you kind of think about it, and there's a bunch of offense when it comes to Chicago, but like I haven't really seen their defense. I don't know how good they are exactly. So I think if Portland gets down there far enough, Capital Skis is not gonna be able to save everything. So I'm gonna say Portland.
Okay, ML.
I'm gonna go the opposite and say Chicago wins it 3-2. Most the best defense is a good offense, and I don't think Portland's defense is going to hold out long enough against Chicago.
Certainly a tough test against one of the best offensive teams in the league. Self-plug?
So I'm gonna. This one depends. So depending on how close it is, because Portland has been having attendance issues, which could lead to it because Ace, their third highest point producer, has to go in net whenever Cook doesn't show up or he decides to play out of net for some reason. So I don't know. If Ace is in net, I think they get swept. If he's out of net, I think it's close. I think it's like 3-1, something like that. I'd say Chicago will win handedly.
All right, Para.
All right.
Here you are. I know you're not going to pick against yourself.
I hate because like I don't want this to be like the whole
You don't have to. You don't have to give a prediction if you don't want to. You don't have to.
No. Like I'm not gonna whip out of this. I have to go with my gut. We've played well all season. I'm not saying they haven't. They have a fantastic roster. I think the key to the game, like the entire series, is we're just gonna have to play rock solid on defense. Because the moment we let one crack through, that can get really dangerous in a playoff game. The pressure's intensified by orders of 10. I say realistically, I think that we will sweep them. And that is that's just based on how we've played all year with various roster lineups. If we're all here, yeah, that's obviously dependent on attendance for both teams. If we're all here for both teams, I think we will win 3-0.
There we go. I think the first game is going to be very important in this series. I do think this is going to be a huge swing game early on, and whichever one of you wins the first game is going to have massive momentum boost going into the second and third games especially. So I think that'll be a very crucial game to take in this series.
I'd have to disagree and say game 2 will be the most important. I think game 1 might be a false positive in terms of whichever team wins the game. So I'm looking more to game 2 to see which team starts building the momentum, because I think the first one's going to be either too close or too blown out to say who's trying to dominate. I feel like if a team blows out another team, it's gonna probably put them too high in the clouds to consistently win that series. So I'm looking to game 2 to see who wins that series.
I feel pretty similar about Portland as I do to Manitoba. I think Cook can really be the X factor in this series. I remember last season, his team was really close to upsetting Alaska, but he didn't play as well as I'm sure he would have liked to in that series. So I think if he steps up, then they have an ample chance of winning. But I think Chicago is rightfully the heavy favorite.
Okay, last question for the RSL, and this is going to be a more general one. Obviously, tough one to predict now. But who do you think is going to win the cup this season? We'll start with the BZ.
I mean, Ontario. I'm pretty confident in our team because as you said yourself, whoever has the strongest defense definitely has the better chance of winning. And I am statistically, I can prove that we are the better team in terms of defense. Not everyone will say it, but we give up the fewest goals. We give up the fewest shots. Our shot differential has been pretty awesome because even though we don't take the best quality shots, we do definitely force the team to play in their own zone more than our zone. So I think that will carry us through the series. We've proven that we can win the close games too. We had 5 overtime games this season, and we only dropped one of them, and that was the Coventry in the first game. Where Tidge, I think it was a great goal to end in overtime. It was one of those goals where it's just you can't do anything to stop it. So I'm really confident in our team's ability to play a playoff series, and I'm going to have that confidence all the way until the finals.
Duff?
If you make it there.
I feel Coventry is going to come out with it. I think they're backstopped by an elite goaltender in GT, and his save percentage just continues to ride, sitting at 67% now. I think he's the best goaltender in the league, and I know most people would bite at me and say Sully, but I do think GT has cleaned up every single mistake that Coventry has made, and I think Coventry is going to continue to play very well. And I can't really argue against the number 1 team, and I think they're going to win it all in the end.
Kind of as they're saying in the chat, not gonna pick against my team. I think we're more than capable of, like, we have the talent to win the championship. We just have to, we have to sort some things out. We've got, how many days? Like 5 days till our first game or something.
What would be your worst
7 days.
nightmare team to play in the finals?
Chicago.
Da, 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 da.
At that point, you'd have to go through Manitoba, then Coventry, then Chicago in order to win.
Yeah, I mean
That's a rough road to travel right there, my friend.
Though. That's how it should be.
Don't let your
I
memes
want to
be
beat all the
dreams,
best teams.
Okay. Don't
You
let
need to
your
be able
memes
to beat the
dreams.
best to be the best. So, John Cena.
John Cena.
John Cena is going to win the RSL Cup, boys. You heard it here first.
Yep.
Excellent.
No, but really, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, gotta go with my team, Coventry. We just have all around players. Crack pipe, cell plug. They pass to each other, but they both score. They connect really well. Tidge and Trev connect really well on defense, and GT connects with his defenders, and we all get it up there and score.
Thankfully,
You guys
GT
are good at
connects
getting
with
it
the
up.
Puck.
Yeah, we're definitely good at getting it up.
Okay.
Are you trying to make fun of me for it or something like that?
No,
Just
just
them
having
getting it up.
a little fun, man.
We're practically Viagra.
All right, ML24. I'm guessing Coventry as well here, right?
I'm gonna say Ontario.
Oh, you shit,
Ooh.
man.
I
Just
think
me.
playing with Coventry, they have.
I'm glad you retired.
I'm glad too. I'm not on
Oh.
team with you anymore.
Oh,
I thought we had a connection. We had the
Shots fired.
Stardew Valley connection, ML.
That's where I'm going. But I think Ontario does have a very good defense in their team, and I think that would help them carry. And I think Coventry has had some issues that they seem to kind of gloss over. And from my time there and talking to John during Quad City, I do think they might have some possibility that might damage them like a 5-game series.
You call me bed?
No, I'm not calling you Ben. I'm calling people on your team.
Oh,
Damn.
dang. Call out.
Damn, shots fired.
All right, so like, tell me why Coventry's gonna win.
Well, it's because we're the best. Well, you see, first off, there's precedent. No one who's ever won the league has lost the cup. It's just a fact.
There's a first for everything.
Got.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
First seed has always won the cup in the RSL.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Did not know that.
I didn't know either.
First, we got tied points leader,
Didn't care
leading
about
goal
that.
scorer, best plus minus.
Stats don't matter.
Well, we'll see.
Don't let your memes be mean.
I don't know what to say. I mean, we've got one of the best D-men in the league, I think, in Trev. He's been a rock at the back. He's made some insane blocks. Him and Tidge. Tidge has been insane too. Legendary Trev playing more of the defensive D-man
So
role.
you're saying Trev is
honestly.
better than Tidge?
No. I think they're about equal. And I
Tidge
think
is a
Trev
bum,
just-
honestly. He's just.
he's sort of just there. He's like
He has no
Dick
idea what
Dug.
he's
He's a
doing.
pylon.
He's pretty much like flailing his stick.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, sort of last games fluky. The losses were a bit fluky, but
Okay.
easy wins for Coventry.
In-depth analysis.
Okay, and Para, tell me why
Yeah,
Chicago's gonna win.
Yeah. Basically, my perspective is we have the best top to bottom goal distribution across the league. I don't believe anyone else has a higher average among
What about
starters.
assist distribution, Mr.
Yeah,
Zero?
I know, right? That's really unfortunate because I thought but being a defenseman, I either have the puck and bring it up and score, or it gets sent to someone else.
When you realize you're not a defenseman. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Compared to
You're
other
binging.
teams, I think Ontario compares the best from top to bottom distribution. But our forwards play better. BG with 2.13 per game.
Absolutely.
Points. What?
Definitely more finishing ability than on my team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
both-
didn't mention that, but I think that's going to be Ontario's downfall is their lack of production.
both of our forwards have comparable points per game to Coventry. While I've definitely sung Self and Crack's praises as without a doubt the best offensive pairing in the league. I think we have a better overall top to bottom where we can spread it around. We can't just we can't just have one player shut down and down goes the rest of the team. We have an excellent goalie in Capital Skis. He's not crazy up there, above 70% or anything like that, but he makes the saves that need to be made. Our defense has allowed some of the fewest shots and allowed us the best, one of the best, rather. I need to watch my words. Shot differentials.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know. I see you over there. You guys are good. You guys are good. But and plus we are the from what I'm understanding, we are the hottest team in the second half of the season.
The real
as far
key
as-
to having a good shot differential is going AFK on the first pick of the draft for about half an hour.
Did I do that?
No,
I don't
make
think
it
that
fun,
one
I was
easy.
like, is this
Dial,
like
I don't
some,
think
like,
that one's
advanced level meme?
I don't
So
think
it was like an hour.
I don't think that's ever worked for
I
a
was at
DVD.
work.
I know DVDs
Then
tried it a
let's-
couple of times.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, when we have the cup, you guys can keep making that meme. I'll be laughing with you.
You got the brown luck on your side, dude. So.
Brown luck. Oh my god.
Oh.
I have no, it's not even brown, it's Canadian. Have you seen my team? It's literally Canada. It's Gouch, who is the embodiment of French Canada.
Yeah,
It's
he's like-
Ticklebox. It's Nargila. It's Splash. I think the only Americans on the it's Space Space Cow's American, so is Josh. And myself.
Flash.
What about Keller?
Splash is
Keller, I don't know where Keller's from.
Keller's not on your team.
From the
anymore, is
internet.
he? I don't
From
think so.
V Passworld.
Honestly,
It's
Ontario's
foreign-
downfall
from
is
origin.
they
You-
dropped Keller.
You look you look at Ontario, they've got no one with higher than 1.54 points per game. So I think
well,
the teams that have a good defensive record, Coventry, and a good scoring record, Coventry and Chicago, will do
we're
better
not
than
talking about those teams today. You broke the rules.
Oh.
them.
I'd like to
All
offer
right.
like
Still don't
a
think that
very
matters.
brief, like 20 seconds at most. Like if Chicago loses, this is why. It's because the pressure can be very intense in the playoffs. Stats mean nothing once you get in that game. It's all about the matchups,
Memes. It's
how
all
you're
about
playing.
the memes.
Believe
It's
it or
all-
not, Chicago is one team I think pressure can get to and actually affect really well in a negative sort of way. I think there's sometimes where they get inside their own heads and they put more on themselves than they should be. Speaking to them individually, just take your time and just do it as if it was a pub sometimes, you know?
So
You're
if
talking
we
about
lose,
Fiji,
that's
right?
why.
Because of the pub.
Yeah, it's just a
I
pub.
didn't say
Doesn't matter when you lose.
anyone's name.
Make sure Crackpipe shows up. I don't want to play.
All right.
Yeah, me-
Closing
Scared.
I
closing
think
thoughts.
That might determine the game.
Closing thoughts. Please consider Josh Bra for Rookie of the Year. He's played extremely well. He's only played, I think, 7 or 8 games, and he's gotten a point per game in each of them. He's one of the most important players on our team in terms of winning games for us. He's been playing really well.
How is he a rookie?
Yeah, he's
He's
played
only
like
played
a million
2 games. He's only played 2 games in the past. He played 1 game in season 5, 1 game in season 6.
Wow.
That guy's been around for like a year and a half.
I know, a long time.
Stamkos
Yeah.
has been around as long as I have.
Fair.
Just hasn't been playing
Icy
leagues.
Rookie of the Year.
Like-
Please
Two
vote
weeks.
me.
Was Trevor
because-
rookie? I don't know. Trevor's been.
Trev
Trev
was
was a
the
rookie
Rookie of the
last
Year
season.
last season.
He was signed in, or he drafted into the RSL, skips the JSL.
Please vote me because I'm a motivational speaker.
I don't know. I think.
I tried.
I don't know, John. You're great, man. Love you.
I think
thank you.
Burn Warnham is Rookie of the Year.
Uh huh.
I think we need to get Dial Loriax in here. Get him Rookie of the Year.
There you go.
I'd vote for that.
Being said, please go on the subreddit if you haven't already, and please fill out the Power Rankings survey. I'm trying to get as many people as possible to get the most accurate results. It's gonna be the
That's
last
You gonna use
article
mine
for
this
Power
time?
Ranks this
The,
season.
the Chicago.
I
Derp
will
is
use yours
coming.
this time because you are not gonna write memes like you did the first time.
That sounds good.
Alright, and with that, guys, we're going to cut it off. Make sure you check out the subreddit for anything and everything in the future. There's also the website, legendshockeyleague.com, which is fantastic. A lot of work put into that by both Cook and DeBeezy. So a big shout out to both of them for everything that they've done. Big shout out to everybody who has helped made all of these seasons run up to this point in time and made them as successful as they have been. And
All right,
we
stop
will
talking about yourself.
hopefully I'll hopefully catch up with you guys in about a week or two. Have a good one.
Let me rip one more Gino.
Okay,
on
so we'll